I was sipping my coffee on the porch when the ground started to shake like thunder rolling in from a bad place. But it wasn't thunder. I looked up, and the horizon itself was moving. A shimmer of heat and chrome just boiling over the county road. The kind of sight you don't see unless something's gone seriously sideways. I nearly spilled my mug laughing, then choking, then just standing there in disbelief because coming straight at my locked gate wasn't just a convoy. It was a circus train, one of those wild parades you'd see at a county fair, except meaner. SUVs, buses, vans strung together like a snake of entitlement, windows fogged with faces, balloons flapping, streamers catching the sun. Honest to God, a full-blown road train barreling toward my ranch, dust everywhere. For a second, I thought, you've got to be kidding. Then the anger set in because I knew, just by the shape of that disaster, who was behind it. Karen, HOA president, local tyrant, the kind of person who thinks the law is whatever she points at. And from the way that mess aimed at my land, I could tell she was cooking up her boldest scam yet. The lead bus screeched up to my gate, driver laying on the horn like they were rolling into Disneyland, not a ranch posted with no trespassing signs every 20 feet. I leaned forward, elbows on knees, waiting. Doors slammed. Folks in party outfits, sunglasses, hauling coolers and lawn chairs, spilled out. Women in high heels stuck in gravel, guys barking orders, kids darting into the weeds like it was recess. Some big guy shook my locked gate, peering in like there was a party tent just waiting for him. More buses kept coming, dust and engine roar filling the air until it felt like the whole damn horizon had come down on top of me. That's when Karen made her entrance, heels crunching, sunglasses the size of pancakes, nails flashing as she pointed like Caesar claiming Gaul. She shook the gate with one hand, spun to the crowd, and yelled, "This is our venue for the weekend. He'll let us in, don't you worry." The audacity almost made me laugh if I wasn't busy feeling my blood pressure spike. 50 cars worth of strangers glaring at me like I was keeping them from their vacation. I stood up, walked to the gate, letting the silence stretch, every eye on me, like they expected me to bow and throw it open. Karen tilted her chin, smug as a cat. "Open up, we've got a schedule." I just stared her down, feeling the engines idling behind her like a growl. "This is my land, my gate, my rules. None of you were invited." Karen's smile cracked for a second, then she flicked her wrist like I was the entertainment, spun back to her audience. "He's just being coy. Folks, we voted on this months ago." There was a ripple of confusion. "You mean we drove 3 hours for nothing?" some guy hollered. Another lady started fanning herself with a brochure, complete with photoshopped fields, big banner reading "Private HOA Retreat." That's when I realized she'd sold my land as an event venue, lied through her teeth, promised them a party on dirt she had no say over. An old-timer piped up, voice shaky. "Isn't this non-HOA property?" Karen snapped at him, eyes hot. "He's just a stubborn neighbor. This is a community event." But the mood was turning. I leaned on the gate, arms folded, watching the heat and doubt melt the excitement off their faces. One woman shouted from an SUV, "I didn't pay to sit in the dust all day." Karen's head whipped around, desperate to hold her narrative, but it was slipping. I cut in. "There's no event here. Never was. She lied to you. Unless you want a trespassing charge, you'll turn around now." That did it. The crowd's anger turned on her. Karen, panicked, doubled down. "Ignore him. We'll vote to override." She called for a show of hands. Half the crowd just looked at their feet. The other half eyed the long line of overheating cars. Some younger guys started sizing up the fence, whispering like they might try something. My dogs barked, low and mean, just enough to remind everyone this place was guarded. Karen shouted, "If you don't open up, I'll have you reported. The sheriff will be here in minutes." I smiled, pulled out my phone. "Go ahead. I'd love him to remind you who owns this land." The chaos just kept building. Kids crying, engines sputtering, people cursing as dust settled on everything. Karen was still trying to save face, promising she'd booked the land, she'd paid a planner. Every excuse only made the silence heavier. Someone waved a glossy flyer at me like it meant anything, as if paper could trump a deed. Then came the real break. A lady shouted, "I paid you a deposit. Are you refunding us?" Karen sputtered, then tried the wildest line yet. Called me a squatter, said I was living here illegally, said she was protecting community rights. That was too much. A bus driver, sunburned, done with the whole circus, laughed so hard the crowd stopped to stare. "Lady, you don't even know who owns the dirt under your feet." I seized the moment, pulled up the digital deed on my phone, held it high, let the sun hit the screen. Nearest folks squinted, then started passing the word. "He's got proof." Karen's bravado crumbled. People shouted, demanding refunds, calling her a liar. A man in mirrored shades stormed up, finger in her face. "We drove 4 hours. This is fraud." Karen tried to swat him away, but the power dynamic had shifted, and everyone knew it. I just stood there, watching as Karen lost her crowd, her authority, her illusion of control, right there in the hot sun, with cattle grazing in the background, as if this was all some comedy staged for my amusement. Karen screeched at me, "You'll regret this. The sheriff will get you for obstructing access." I tilted my head. "I'll call him myself. Let's see how your story holds up." That was the last straw for most folks. Parents wrangling tired kids, people shoving coolers back into their vans, angry muttering rising over Karen's protests. By the time the sheriff actually showed, blue lights drifting lazy through the dust, Karen had lost her audience. The deputy rolled down the window, spotted me, nodded with a half-smile. He heard my side, then fixed Karen with the kind of stare that said, "Don't waste my time." He told the crowd to turn around, flat out. "This is trespassing, and it ends here." Groans, curses, engines starting up. The road train, once proud and noisy, became a retreating caravan of defeat. Karen froze, chest heaving, whispering about revenge, but no one listened. You'd think that'd be the end, right? You'd be wrong. The next morning, I found flyers shoved through my gate, claiming I was a menace, a landhoarder, that I'd assaulted guests. Lies, obviously, but the speed of it told me Karen was regrouping, not quitting. By noon, a handful of HOA diehards had shown up, waving protest signs, "Community first," and "Stop the squatter." I leaned on the porch, sipping water, watching Karen strut with a megaphone, barking orders like a field marshal. Most of her protesters just sweated, muttered, wanted to go home, but fear of Karen kept them around, at least for a little while. I figured, time to flip the script. I strolled down to the gate, slow and quiet, pulled out my drone controller, launched it overhead. Karen froze, realizing every word was on camera now. "Every second of this is being recorded," I called out. Every lie, every threat, going straight on the record. The mood shifted. People drifted back to their cars. Karen shrieked about illegal surveillance, but even her allies weren't buying it. When a few guys actually tried to rattle the gate, my dogs erupted, then stopped on my whistle, dead silent, just the sound of Karen's frantic voice and the rattle of metal. I warned them, "Try breaking in, you'll get a property destruction charge. Sheriff knows what happened yesterday." They backed off, confidence gone. Someone even fainted in the heat, and Karen tried to blame me for not providing shade, which just made everyone roll their eyes. I spread my arms. "You're not my guests. You chose to come here. You followed a liar. That's on you." Karen's last card was live streaming, ranting about tyranny, crying into the camera, but I just smiled, let the drone hover above, and said, "Keep streaming, Karen. Maybe your followers want to see the sheriff's report too." That broke her. Her crowd fizzled, scattered back to their cars, and by sunset, I was alone again, except for Karen's threats echoing in the dust. That night, I locked up tight, let the dogs roam, checked cameras, knew she wasn't done. Sure enough, just past midnight, I heard feet on gravel, caught 3 figures crouched by the fence. Karen's cronies, same ones from the protest, now with crowbars and rope. I watched them try the fence. Floodlights snapped on, dogs howled, alarms wailed, a spray of neon dye marked one idiot head to toe. I stepped out, flashlight in one hand, phone recording in the other, told them to sit down and wait for the law. Sheriff showed up, face grim. "Didn't I tell you people to stay away?" In no time, those guys were cuffed, blaming Karen for everything. The sheriff just shook his head. "She's not going to stop, is she?" "Not until she breaks herself against this gate," I replied. Watching his cruiser disappear, I felt more tired than triumphant. This was turning ugly. She'd crossed into crime, dragging others with her. The next move was classic Karen, full-on media blitz. I woke to news vans, cameras, and reporters crowding my road. Karen in pearls and a suit, giving a speech about community rights and dangerous neighbors. She handed out glossy flyers packed with lies, tried to make herself a martyr. I waited, then calmly showed my deed, tax receipts, drone footage, let the truth roll. The reporters turned on her, questions coming hard. Someone asked about the 3 guys arrested at my fence. Karen panicked, denied everything, but the mask was off. The spectacle backfired, her authority cracked in public, her own supporters backing away. The fallout spread fast. HOA meetings devolved into shouting, board members quit, neighbors accused her of fraud, misuse of funds. The sheriff delivered me a letter, official investigation. Karen ranted on forums, threatened lawsuits, tried to stage one last show of support. Nobody came. Her house grew dark, yard overgrown. The queen of the HOA now a pariah, undone by her own ego. I won, not by force, not by shouting, just by holding the line, shining a light on her lies. Folks stopped me in town to say thanks, to admit they'd almost believed her, to say they felt braver now that she was gone. That part humbled me. Sometimes standing your ground gives others the courage to do the same. As I walked the fence line at dusk, the gate still standing, dogs by my side, I thought about what it all meant. Karen wasn't beaten by me. She was beaten by her own arrogance, her belief that she could just take, spin, and bulldoze through truth. And in the end, she left behind nothing but an empty house and a broken reputation. I sat on the porch, breathing the deep, real quiet, and knew, this land is mine, not because a deed says so, but because I stood for it, fought for it, endured for it. If anyone doubts that, well, they'll find themselves on the wrong side of a locked gate, just like Karen did. So here's what I'll say to anyone who asks, stand your ground. Don't yield to noise or lies, no matter how loud. Entitlement will always try to knock at your door dressed up as authority, but truth is the only thing that lasts. Yeah, that happened. And if you've ever tangled with a Karen of your own, I want to hear about it. Drop your story below. Tell me, where do you draw your line? Where does community end and ownership begin? Let's hear it.